The night the moonstone vanished, the Nightshade pack house shook with a kind of fear Elena Voss had not felt since she was a child. She stood at the edge of the healing hall, wiping dried herbs from her hands, when the horn sounded 3 times. 3 blasts meant only one thing: something sacred had been broken. She ran toward the main hall with the others, her heart pounding, not knowing that by morning her whole world would turn against her. The vault beneath the pack house had been opened by force. The moonstone, the ancient crystal that powered the protective wards around Nightshade territory, was gone. Without it, the pack's borders would weaken within days, leaving them open to attack from rival packs and wandering rogues. Alpha King Damian Cross stood at the center of the chaos, his broad shoulders tense, his gray eyes scanning the crowd. He was young for a king, only 28, but he carried himself with the calm weight of someone who had led through worse nights than this one. When his gaze passed over Elena, it lingered for half a second longer than it should have. Neither of them noticed it. Everyone else was too afraid to notice anything but the empty vault. By dawn, the council had gathered evidence. A torn strip of gray cloth, the same color as a healer's sash, was found caught on the broken lock. Elena's scent, faint but unmistakable to trained wolf noses, lingered near the vault door. And then came the final blow. Vera, the beta's daughter, stepped forward with tears in her eyes and said she had seen Elena near the vault the night before, acting strange, nervous, secretive. Elena felt the room turn cold around her. "That's not true," she said, her voice shaking. "I was in the healing house all night. Ask anyone." But fear moves faster than truth. The council, made up of older wolves who had never fully trusted Elena since she arrived as an orphan child years ago, did not wait for more proof. They knew she had been found wandering alone as a girl, the lone survivor of a small pack destroyed by rogues. To them, that made her an outsider, someone whose loyalty could never be fully certain. "She has always been different," one elder muttered, "taken in out of pity, not blood." Before Elena could speak again, the council rose as one and declared their judgment. She was branded a traitor. Tradition demanded she be marked and sent beyond the border, into rogue territory, where a wolf without a pack rarely survived more than a few days alone. Elena's knees nearly gave out. She looked toward Damian, silently begging him to say something, anything. He did. "Stop," Damian said, his voice cutting through the hall like thunder. "No one is branded a traitor without proof stronger than gossip and a torn cloth." The council elder, a stern wolf named Corwin, narrowed his eyes. "My king, the evidence is clear. Are you questioning the safety of this pack for the sake of one healer?" "I am questioning justice," Damian said. "If we punish the wrong person while the real thief walks free among us, we lose more than the moonstone. We lose what makes us worth protecting." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Several senior wolves exchanged uneasy glances. It was known throughout the pack that Damian had spoken with Elena often in recent months, seeking her out in the healing house more than any king needed to. Some wolves believed loyalty was clouding his judgment. A few even whispered that a king led by his heart instead of his mind was a king who could not be trusted to rule. Damian ignored the whispers. He addressed the council directly. "She will stand trial in 3 days. Until then, she remains under guard, unharmed, and no branding will occur without full evidence presented before the pack." Corwin's jaw tightened, but he could not openly defy the Alpha King in front of the gathered pack. The council reluctantly agreed, though the tension in the hall made clear that many did not. Elena was led away to a guarded room, her wrists bound with silver-lined rope that dulled a wolf's strength. She sat alone that first night, staring at the stone wall, replaying every moment of the accusation in her mind. She had done nothing wrong. She knew that with certainty. But knowing the truth and proving it were very different things, especially when the whole pack seemed eager to believe the worst of her. Late that night, the door opened quietly. It was Damian. He dismissed the guard outside and stepped in alone, closing the door behind him. "You shouldn't be here," Elena said softly, though part of her was grateful he was. "I couldn't leave you thinking no one believed you," he said, kneeling in front of her so they were eye level. "I don't believe it, Elena, not for a moment." Her eyes filled with tears she had been holding back for hours. "Everyone else does. They've already decided. Then I'll have to change their minds, Damien said. Tell me everything you remember about that night. Every detail, no matter how small. Elena took a shaking breath and told him about her evening in the healing house, treating a young pup with a fever, then walking home along the eastern path, far from the vault. She mentioned passing a stranger near the tree line, a wolf she did not recognize, moving quickly and avoiding her gaze. Damien's expression sharpened. A stranger? Did you see his face? Only briefly, pale eyes, a scar near his jaw. Elena paused, something tugging at her memory. It felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. Damien rose to his feet, his mind already working. I'm going to find out who that was. Rest, if you can. I'll return. Over the next 2 days, Damien worked alongside his most trusted enforcer, a loyal wolf named Kale, who had served beside him since childhood. Together, they examined the vault more closely than the council had bothered to. The lock had not been broken by brute force, as everyone assumed. It had been picked, carefully and precisely, by someone trained in such things. That kind of skill was rare among ordinary pack wolves. This wasn't done by a healer with no combat training, Kale said, running his fingers along the scratched metal. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Damien nodded slowly. Elena mentioned a stranger near the tree line that night, pale eyes, a scar near the jaw. Kale's face went still. That sounds like Rorik. Damien's blood ran cold. Rorik had once been a member of Nightshade, exiled years ago, for cruelty toward weaker pack members, and suspected dealings with rogue groups. He had vanished from the region entirely, or so everyone believed. If Rorik is back, Damien said, then he's not acting alone. Someone inside the pack must have helped him get close enough to reach the vault. They began quietly questioning pack members, careful not to alert anyone who might be involved. It was a young guard, nervous and eager to please the Alpha King, who mentioned seeing Vera speaking with an unfamiliar wolf near the southern gate 2 nights before the theft. The description matched Rorik perfectly. Damien felt a heavy mix of anger and clarity settle over him. Vera, the very wolf whose testimony had condemned Elena, had been seen with the true culprit just before the crime took place. On the morning of the trial, the pack hall was filled beyond capacity. Every wolf in Nightshade wanted to witness the outcome. Elena was brought forward, her wrists still bound, her chin held high despite the fear twisting inside her chest. Corwin opened the proceedings, reading the accusations aloud once more. Vera stood to repeat her testimony, her voice steady at first. Then Damien stepped forward. Before we continue, he said, I have new evidence the council should hear. He described the picked lock, the trained precision no ordinary pack member possessed. He revealed that a wolf named Rorik, exiled years ago, had been seen near the vault the same night the moonstone disappeared. Gasps spread through the crowd. Rorik's name still carried weight among the older generation, a reminder of past cruelty and betrayal. Then Damien turned to Vera. You were seen speaking with him 2 nights before the theft. Care to explain? Vera's confident expression cracked. Her eyes darted toward the crowd, searching for an escape that did not exist. I don't know what you're talking about. A witness saw you both at the southern gate, Damien said calmly, though his voice carried unmistakable authority. I suggest you tell the truth now, before it is dragged out of you in front of everyone. The silence stretched unbearably. Finally, Vera's shoulders sank. Tears spilled down her face, though they seemed born more from fear of being caught than genuine remorse. He came to me, she whispered. Rorik. He said he would make sure Elena was gone from the pack forever if I helped him. He knew the Alpha cared for her. He said if she disappeared, no one would question it. Her voice cracked. I gave him the guard schedule. I never thought he would take the moonstone itself. I only wanted her gone. The hall erupted into shocked murmurs. Elena stood frozen, stunned by the depth of the betrayal, yet also flooded with a strange, aching relief. The truth was finally surfacing. But before Corwin could pronounce judgment on Vera, the great doors of the hall slammed open. Rorik stood in the entrance, the stolen moonstone glowing faintly in his raised hand. His pale eyes swept over the crowd with cold amusement. Clever, Alpha King, he said, but knowing the truth and stopping me are 2 very different things. He raised the stone higher, threatening to shatter it against the stone floor. "Step down as Alpha. Right here, right now, or I destroy the one thing keeping this pack safe." Gasps and cries rippled through the hall. Damien did not move, did not flinch, though his fists clenched tightly at his sides. "You won't leave this hall either way," Damien said, stepping forward. "Give me the stone, Rorik. This ends now." Rorik smiled coldly and lunged, not toward Damien, but toward the crowd, aiming to create chaos and cover his escape. Kale moved to intercept him, but Rorik's ally, hidden among the guards, struck Kale from behind, sending him crashing to the floor. Elena, still bound but no longer restrained by guards distracted by the chaos, twisted her wrists free, using a technique she had learned treating injured wolves for years, pressing precisely against the weakened silver clasp until it snapped. She rushed to Kale's attacker, striking a nerve point along his shoulder that she knew would numb his arm instantly, disarming him before he could strike again. Meanwhile, Damien and Rorik clashed in the center of the hall, a fierce and desperate struggle. Rorik fought with the vicious cunning of someone who had spent years surviving outside pack protection, but Damien fought with something stronger, the unshaken resolve of a king protecting not just his crown, but everyone he had sworn to keep safe. The fight ended when Damien knocked the moonstone from Rorik's grasp mid-strike. Elena, moving on instinct, caught it before it could hit the ground, cradling it safely against her chest. With his plan shattered and his last weapon gone, Rorik was quickly overwhelmed and restrained by the pack's guards, his cold confidence replaced with the panic of a wolf who had lost everything. The hall fell into stunned silence, broken only by heavy breathing and the soft, steady glow of the recovered moonstone in Elena's hands. Damien turned to face the crowd, his chest still rising and falling from the fight, his eyes finding Elena immediately. "This pack branded an innocent woman a traitor," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall, not because of solid proof, but because fear made it easy to blame someone who had already survived more loss than most of us can imagine. "That ends today." He walked to Elena, gently taking her bound wrists, though they were already free, and lifted them for the entire pack to see. "Elena Voss is innocent," he declared. "The true traitors have been revealed, and justice will be served according to our laws. But more than that, I want every wolf in this hall to understand something clearly. A king who cannot protect the innocent among his own people does not deserve to wear a crown at all." Corwin, humbled and visibly shaken by how close the pack had come to punishing the wrong person, stepped forward and formally reversed Elena's branding before the entire gathering. Vera was sentenced to exile for her role in the conspiracy, while Rorik was taken to await a far harsher judgment for his years of betrayal and cruelty. As the tension in the hall slowly eased into quiet relief, Damien turned back to Elena, taking her hands in his, no longer for evidence, but simply because he no longer wanted to let go. "I should have protected you from the very beginning," he said softly, only for her to hear. "I won't make that mistake again." Elena, still holding the glowing moonstone gently between them, felt something in her chest loosen for the first time in days. "You believed me when no one else would," she whispered. "That's more than enough." Damien shook his head slightly, a small, warm smile breaking through the exhaustion on his face. "It's not enough. Not for what I feel for you." He looked out at the pack, then back at her, his voice steady and sure. "Elena Voss, healer of this pack, survivor of more than anyone here truly understands. I want the whole pack to know that you are not just cleared of these false charges. You are the one I choose to stand beside me, now and always." The hall, moments ago thick with fear and suspicion, filled instead with quiet astonishment, then slowly, genuine warmth. Wolves who had doubted her began to see, perhaps for the first time, the strength she had carried quietly all along. As Elena placed the moonstone back into its rightful place within the vault, its glow brightened steadily, wrapping the pack house in a soft, protective light, stronger than it had been in years. It was as if the pack itself recognized that true strength was never about bloodline or rank, but about loyalty proven in the darkest moments, and love brave enough to risk everything for the truth. And as the pack slowly began to celebrate the return of their sacred stone, Damien stood beside Elena, his hand steady in hers, both of them finally safe, finally seen, and finally home.